Do you have a bunch of random solid color shirts in your closet that are perfectly fine looking but are just too boring to wear, so you just don't really wear them? Do you have an excessive amount of embroidery thread that your aunt just sent? Okay, I think you can see where I'm going with this. But today I'm going to show you guys some of the most basic sewing stitches that anyone could easily learn and use for embroidery. But what is embroidery anyways? Embroidery is like sewing, but instead of making clothes, you are decorating them instead. Nowadays, embroidery has been replaced by prints instead, since it's easier to do. But if you have a little bit of time on your hands and you want to do something sort of productive, I would suggest you stick around. Now for the basic materials, you will need fabric, obviously. A frame like this. It is used to hold the fabric in place and make it easier to pierce through. And thread, but not this type of thread because it's usually used for sewing and not embroidery since it's super thin. You'll need thread like this because it's way more beginner friendly, trust me. Needle, be careful with this of course, and since the needle we are using is pretty thick, since the thread we are using is pretty thick, you also need a thick needle with an eye that is large like this, so yeah. And when you open a needle plaque, it should be right in the middle. Scissors, honestly, any pair is fine since we're not cutting fabric, we're just cutting thread. And finally, patience. As a beginner, you will mess up, so do not panic when you do. If you don't have one or two of these materials, well then, be creative. I'm not responsible for any damage this video may cause. Before we go on to the first stitch, let's get all set up. Okay, now that we're all set up, let's begin with the first stitch. It is only a simple running stitch. It is easy if you just watch me do it than rather me explaining, and also it's easier for me editing. Yeah, okay. Also, make sure the spaces are at least evenly placed so it looks good and neat. I apologize if the camera work might be a bit weird and fizzy. I will have a visual presentation next to it so it's easier to correspond to, but yeah. This stitch is good for quick mending and it also can be a very nice pattern sometimes. The next stitch is the back stitch. This is a very strong stitch, so I recommend you remembering it. Also, a very nice solid line, easy to snip over. Okay, the next stitch is the split stitch. Like the back stitch, but it has a nice braided texture to it, so if you want to be more fancy. Now for the stem stitch, I really like this stitch. Very loop, very similar to the split stitch. It's specifically nice for when you want to attempt a curve than the usual straight line. And if you haven't noticed, depending on which stitch style you choose to do, the amount of thread used up will vary between different stitch styles, which is why the next stitch style is the thread black hole, because you're gonna need a lot of thread. Chain stitch, very pretty and also very loopy. I like this one, by which it didn't take up so much thread. And those were the 5 basic stitches which can be used to outline and decorate fabric. Now, French knots, very cute stitch. Very cute stitch. You all gonna love this one. For this part, depending on how much you loop it, the size will vary. I know it looks very crusty right now. Okay, I was having trouble with this part. It's hard to sew and also maintain a camera. Okay. Anyways, the size will vary, so I recommend 5 to 8 loops. And this can't be an actual embroidery video if there isn't a mention of fill stitches, because like you know when people who do like blocks and stuff. Okay, whatever. This is the satin stitch, good for filling in spaces and eating up thread. And now finally, a bonus stitch. Oh yeah, I didn't finish the satin stitch because I didn't have enough thread. Okay, yeah, okay. And now finally, this is sort of like a bonus stitch. The Fishbone Stitch. It looks more like a leaf than a fishbone. Don't ask me why they named it that. That was a wide variety of numerous stitches you can do a lot with. See here, this white basic t-shirt. After taking a pencil or pen and sketching out a design, you can bring it into life with different stitches via line. And yeah, I totally did not just like take a video of its backside and then flip it over so it looked like I did something. Okay, I doubted it. Okay. And yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed learning about stitches, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, don't ask me how to wash it, okay?